Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a massive transformation happening right now in the professional world. We are talking about building strategic HR leaders, and more specifically, unpacking the urgent, absolutely critical evolution required for HR professionals in the age of AI. Let's kick things off with a pretty brutal truth drawn directly from our source material. The job changed. The expectations won't wait for you. I mean, that really sets the tone for everything we're about to dig into, doesn't it? The HR landscape has permanently shifted. When CEOs were recently asked what they want most from their HR leaders, their number one answer was literally just one word: strategic. They don't want administrators anymore. They want true strategic partners. And the reality is, there's just no time to wait around. You can't just sit back and hope the old ways of doing things are going to carry you through to the next decade. The expectations have already evolved, and the clock is ticking for professionals to catch up. So, what does this actually look like day to day? Well, there's a really stark contrast between the past and the immediate future of HR. On one side, we're seeing all this transactional work just completely disappearing, and on the other, rising strategic demands. Why is this happening? Because AI is rapidly gobbling up those heavy, time-consuming tasks. We're talking about things like drafting standard policies, writing up job descriptions, doing that tedious first pass on candidate screening. AI is already doing this stuff, and honestly, it's doing it incredibly fast. That work is leaving your desk. But here's the catch. This means you no longer have a heavy administrative load as an excuse to avoid being strategic. This is your opening. The whole "I'm just too busy with paperwork" barrier has been completely removed by technology. And this creates a really harsh but very real divide. The HR people who step up right now become strategic leaders. The ones who wait, they become overhead. Just think about that word for a second. Overhead. In business, overhead is something you try to minimize, optimize, or just cut entirely. When AI can do the heavy administrative lifting, an HR professional who refuses to evolve beyond admin work is, well, they're simply an expense on a spreadsheet. But if you choose to pivot, if you step up to become a strategic leader who drives culture, advises the C-suite, and actually impacts the bottom line, you become an invaluable asset. It's basically a binary choice, and it's one you have to make right now. Now, you might be wondering, what's the actual ROI on this shift? To prove just how valuable that strategic pivot really is, consider this number: $700,000. This isn't some pie-in-the-sky theoretical projection. This is a staggering, real-world financial impact from a manufacturing client in our data. By shifting from a reactive administrative HR function to a proactive strategic leadership model, this single organization saved $700,000. When you bring that kind of hard strategic value to the table, nobody is looking at you as an administrative cost center anymore. You literally become a key driver of the company's financial health. And it's not just about raw financial savings, right? Take a look at the impact on retention. That exact same manufacturing organization slashed their turnover from a crippling 89% down to just 42%. That is more than a 50% cut in turnover. Just imagine the time, the energy, and the resources saved by not constantly replacing and retraining half of your entire workforce every year. And the best part is, this isn't an isolated incident. The source material highlights similar successes across entirely different sectors, like a large healthcare organization that managed to cut their turnover by 63% in just 24 months. This is the true power of strategic HR, solving those deep, foundational problems that bleed a company dry. So what happens when you stack all these wins together? Well, all these strategic improvements beautifully compound. For that organization, it led to a massive 23% surge in profitability, or EBITDA. In fact, it marked their most profitable year ever, and strategic HR played a direct, undeniable role in making that happen. Think about it. When you retain your absolute best people, when you stop bleeding cash on constant turnover, and when your leadership team is totally aligned, the bottom line is inevitably going to surge. This 23% jump in profitability is exactly what CEOs are dreaming about when they demand strategic HR leadership. They want you to help drive these exact kinds of numbers. Okay, so we firmly established the why, but that brings us to the really crucial how. How do you actually build the business acumen to achieve these strategic results without trying to grow all by yourself? Because, let's be honest, it's one thing to know you need to be strategic. It is an entirely different beast to develop that high-level executive thinking when you are already totally stretched thin in your day-to-day role. The best leaders, the ones who eventually become senior VPs and owners, they have one major thing in common. They never grow in isolation. They don't just sit behind a closed office door trying to figure it all out by themselves. The answer to this problem lies in what our source material calls the room. It's a closed, highly confidential peer group built specifically to expand your business acumen before decisions are actually made. This is all about getting ready before the crisis hits, not scrambling to figure things out after the fact. Just imagine having a dedicated sounding board of professionals operating at your exact level, where you can bring your messy, complicated business problems and workshop them before you ever have to present a polished solution to your CEO. It's a space designed from the ground up to elevate your thinking from a managerial level straight to the executive level. And the setup of the room is meticulously designed for high-impact growth. We're talking about a tightly capped group of 10 to 12 peers. There are no two people from competing companies allowed, which completely removes that natural barrier of holding back information. You are dealing with real problems and real financial numbers, and in return, you're getting completely honest, unvarnished feedback. Most importantly, the whole thing is strictly confidential by design. What's shared in the room absolutely stays in the room. This isn't one of those awkward networking mixers where you just trade business cards and make small talk. It's a tactical, safe environment to help you read the AI shift and solve real business issues. When you actually engage in this kind of intense peer support, our source outlines 3 incredible assets you walk away with. First, a genuinely reliable peer group that you can actually pick up the phone and call when a crisis inevitably hits. Second, a clear, proactive read on the AI shift that's coming for HR, so you know exactly what your play is before it lands on your desk. And third, you are guaranteed to make at least one better decision simply because someone else in that room has already navigated that exact problem and can share their playbook with you. That shared knowledge is just invaluable. It stops you from making costly rookie mistakes when the stakes are incredibly high. Now, full disclosure, it's vital to understand who this is actually built for. There is a very stark difference between what we call builders and maintainers. The room is exclusively for the builders. These are the sharp managers who are already operating like VPs but maybe just don't have the title yet. They're the fast-growing directors who are desperate for a trusted peer to think out loud with. On the flip side, if you're a maintainer, someone who is totally comfortable with the status quo, just hoping to ride out the AI wave without having to change the way you work, this environment is definitely not for you. This is for highly motivated professionals who want to actively construct the future of their careers. There's a fantastic quote from our source that really hits the nail on the head here. Peer development does not hand you a career. It provides you resources that otherwise are not available to support your career. You still gotta bring the hustle. The data clearly shows that the most successful leaders come in with their own internal drive. They completely own their trajectory. No peer group can magically do that for you. But having a room full of sharp minds that pushes you, backs you up, and shares real-world intelligence, that provides the exact leverage you need to accelerate your growth. It's the bridge between just having raw talent and actually achieving executive-level impact. Which brings us to our final critical point today. Are you going to sit back and let AI dictate your value to the company, or are you going to take the reins and own your career trajectory? Now is the time to take action. You can start building this strategic business acumen right now by claiming your seat at the upcoming completely free HR Collective Zoom webinar. And the best part is, it's totally accessible from anywhere in the world. It's your perfect first step into understanding this powerful, peer-driven model. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. When the transactional work is entirely gone and your CEO looks you in the eye and asks for your strategic vision, will you be ready with an answer, or will you just be the overhead they decide to cut? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining this explainer.